Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Second game week review of the week because we've had a full set of midweek fixtures and
God, you're
tomorrow is
drunk,
another
aren't you?
game week.
We didn't do a game review podcast on Monday, boss.
Oh, we didn't, did it? It was FA Cup.
Yes.
Soz.
We did this big chip strategy
drunk,
podcast, which is still
like
relevant and people should
feels
listen
like
to. Absolutely.
I am drunk. Yes, indeed. But we have had a full set of midweek fixtures, so I was 50% correct. And it's been a roller coaster of a week. And very few clean sheets knocking around, like Brighton, Newcastle, Villa were the only teams to keep clean sheets. Plenty of goals to be had and shared around. Some interesting captaincy options as well. In the end, we'll go through our teams, James, and a rundown of the fixtures as well. But Amad did the business last night. 10 minutes,
a mad one.
A 15-minute hat trick for owners. I didn't actually check his ownership. I don't
it was
think it's
20% EO around me.
right. Okay, and you're in the top 10, 15k, something like that now, isn't it? So
Yeah, I'm now, sweetheart. Yeah, bang, bang,
yeah.
bang, bang, bang.
Where did you go from and to?
I mean, jeez. Yeah, absolute roller coaster a week for me because I'd sold Semenyo and Jota, who got, I think, 19 points between them on Tuesday night. Watched Nicholas Jackson miss chance after chance. He only ended up with a 4-pointer because he managed to finally get his fifth yellow card of the season. No, he's not suspended. So I effectively Tuesday night only had two players because I had Trent, blank, Jota, not Jota, sorry,
Salah.
Jackson 4-pointer. But Salah and Palmer, I effectively had 9 players this week, right? Because Salah and Palmer were losers in the book for me because I'd captained Isak and they were both over 100% EO. So I went from 37k to about 65k Tuesday night, and then jumped back up to 23k Wednesday night, and then I finished 13k after last night. I finished on 94 points.
So literally, I think the difference between us was Ahmad in the end, 20-pointer from him.
Yeah, Wednesday night was good for me. Obviously, between the Newcastle players, 47 points from Isak, Gordon Hall, Morgan Rogers assist as well. Obviously, Cole Palmer's 10, and then Diallo last night. I mean, that's remarkable. First player to score a hat trick in the last 10 minutes, or in kind of from the 80th minute onwards, in 15 years. Only 2 other players ever done that. Such
In how many 15 years?
Yeah, the first one in 15 years. Only 2 other players in the Premier League ever done that.
Aguero?
From 80th minute onwards.
No, it was 15 years ago. Henry?
Nope.
Shearer?
No.
No idea.
Scored a lot of Premier League goals. Also a former Manchester United player.
Not Rooney.
Yeah.
Okay, Rooney.
Rooney was the last one, and the only other player to ever done it was Solskjaer.
Okay.
He came off the bench and got 4 at Nottingham Forest in the 98-99 season. So the only time it's ever been done 3 times, all by Manchester United players.
Wow, fantastic. Good. Well, nice to see you climbing high up in the ranks. I had a similar story to you in the sense that I obviously captained Isak as well. So Tuesday night went from like 350k to 400 and something. Though again, all I had was Trent. I did have Chris Wood, who got me a goal. So that was a nice 9-pointer. I mean, he's returned every week since I bought him in for Cunha. Despite me regretting getting him for Raul Jimenez, I actually think I've done better off getting Wood, and he's going to stay for a while now. My big benching dilemma was Rodgers, Semenyo, or Wood. I was going to play one of the 3 of them. Now I've ended up middle of the road because Wood got 9. Semenyo beat him with 12, but Rodgers got 6. So I'm quite happy with that. It is what it is. The big haul from the Newcastle players was lovely. Last night, João Pedro was the disappointment and got me nothing. So I ended on 76 points and a green arrow. I'm just outside the top 300k.
Well, he could have been sent off, really. It's a debatable one. It's like it's an orange where he jumps into the goalkeeper.
He's fucking gone from my squad anyway, so whatever.
Shots fired.
I haven't sold him yet, but he's as good as gone. So
did you not watch Manchester United last night? Because you might want to hold him, mate. I know it turned out nicely in the end, but
I'm not selling him this week. I would add that, but I am benching him this week. I'm not selling him this week. I don't know. To be honest, it's not confirmed. But as it stands right now, my moves that I know I want to do are Flecken to Matt Sells, João Pedro to Cody Gakpo, Gvardiol to Mikalenko, and Rico Lewis to probably Joachim Anderson, and also Semenyo to Amad. But when I do each transfer is not confirmed yet, James. Obviously, I want to get Gakpo and Mikalenko before the double. So the likelihood is it will be Sells this week, because I'd much rather have Sells than Flecken. Flecken's got Liverpool.
That transfer
Sells
doesn't
got
make
Southampton.
sense to me, boss.
Why?
I get it, right? They're obviously really good defensively. We've got Southampton this week, but just look
But then
beyond
they've
this
got
week.
Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham. I think they're all okay. I know
Yeah, the Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City, whereas Brentford's fixtures from
it's
23
fine.
get good again.
Arsenal and City are home fixtures. I know it's not great, but Arsenal and City are home fixtures. So I'm gonna roll the dice with him, and once he's in, he's in. So yeah, I think the points that he will get between now and then versus Flecken will compensate for it.
That
I'm
feels
also
like,
free hitting in 29.
I think the thing is as well, like if you were saying to me now, I'm really happy with my team and I want to make it, I'd be like, okay, I get it. You want some Forest defensive coverage, but you've got four other odd moves you want to make, and this ain't one that kind of moves the needle for money for you.
The only one, yeah, exactly that. But the only one that is a luxury move will be Semenyo to Amad. 'Cause I don't want a points chase with Amad, and it's not essential for me to get Amad. Like I'm benching Semenyo some weeks anyway. So the Gakpo Mikalenko moves are obviously for the double. And then Joachim Anderson just gives me cover. At the moment, I've got too many good defenders in the sense of Guardiola, Gabriel, Trent, Lewis Hall, and then Rico Lewis. Like two City defenders isn't great for points, but it's too much money to be tied up in my defence. Guardiola and Lewis are going to go. The two cheap options that I think are okay are Joachim Anderson and Mikalenko, particularly with the double. Pedro's got to go. I think Gakpo's going to be my Liverpool attacking punt for the double. I know there's debate, Jota, Diaz, Gakpo. Just take your medicine, whichever one it is that works for you. I can't get to him from a midfield slot. That kind of makes sense. No pun intended, Arne. And then Amad is just definitely a want, not a need. Like he's in good form at the moment. Though prior to yesterday, he had blanked 3 games in a row. So recency bias is definitely there.
No, not true. He scored at Liverpool, so he can't have.
Did he?
Yeah, he's got 10-pointer at Liverpool in the week
There was
before. He's got
when I was
30
looking at
points
it,
in 2 game weeks. I mean, that's gonna.
so prior to that was 3 blanks. My apologies. So I don't want to points chase with Ahmad when I don't
I get it.
need him. He's definitely a want, not a need.
Yeah.
Whereas the Liverpool Everton assets are more of a need for the double and then coming out of that. So
And you've just missed the best fixture.
yeah, well, it didn't look like that 80 minutes, mate.
No, it
but
didn't.
yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about them in a bit. To be honest, I'm more keen to talk about them almost than anyone else. They really impressed me last night at Southampton.
I thought you were going to say Manchester United there for a second.
No, not
So,
at all.
do you have any moves? I've got 3 frees,
No.
James, here. So the thing is, the ones that I've talked about, Gakpo, Mikalenko, Joachim Anderson, are not going to affect my team this week. My team's fine this week, but the one that improves my team this week is Sells. So I'm kind of like, just make that Sells move now. I know you don't like it. I think from a defensive point of view, I mean, anyone's better than Brentford because they're conceding goals left, right, and centre. And the Arsenal and City games are at the City ground, so I can roll the dice with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's next to no chance of me making a transfer going into this game week. I'm on 1 free transfer. I think the team's pretty well set for this week. Want to make sure that the next decision, which will be the third Liverpool player, is the right decision. I've got eyes on Jackson to Gakpo in 23. Definitely don't want to sell Jackson before Wolves. But alternatives would be, I know I just got him in, but Gordon back to Diaz or Jota if I deem that a better move. Raya to Alisson. I want to make sure I make that decision correctly. I'm not going to dive into it now. Just a note on that, by the way. Arne Slot said this morning, and we should timestamp this. We're recording prior to 10 a.m. UK time. Arne Slot's already done his presser this morning and said Jota is a big doubt for tomorrow.
Ooh.
Which, yeah, for those who've held, is like, oh, yeah, I held him CCC. And, oh, great. That's a headache, and that's why I cut it.
Yep.
Apparently, he got injured when he came on. And obviously played through it towards the end of the game, but was not feeling good afterwards. Didn't train yesterday, although yesterday Well, no, but they played Tuesday, so he would have been proper training yesterday. You're obviously going to see how he feels today, but he's obviously a doubt. He's not going to start. Even if he's available, he's going to be a sub again, isn't he? He's not going to start. But I guess you are more worried about 23 and 24. I completely get that. Yeah, for me, I mean, my bench this week, Suj, is Fabianski, Colwell, Castagno, Rogers.
Yeah.
Like, unless I pick up he's out for a month kind of gig. Like, if I had someone that became a doubt on the team news today, I'd probably just bring probably like Colwell into my team and play a back four, for example. So yeah, way more important that I rolled and do anything kind of big decisions on captaincy. It's Salah versus Palmer for me. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go Mo. I think
Okay.
just relate. I get the appeal of Palmer against Wolves Monday night, but I think with Mo, it's been a week after week. I need a good reason to go against him, and I think Nottingham Forest provided that plus alternative options. Palmer is a really good alternative option. Isak's obviously on fire, but they're playing a very good team tomorrow lunchtime.
But they are at
Brent
home.
Brentford is
The
not a
advantage
good.
for Isak is that he's at home.
Brentford, I've been on the case of this pretty much since the start of the season in August, saying these are there to be attacked when you've got a really good option that plays against them from a captaincy perspective. I don't think there's a good enough reason for me to take on Mo this week. And I kind of, in a way, also like the fact that, Palmer and Isak did well this week. Mo's blanked and he's only scored a penalty in the last two. Mo will have chances on Saturday, fairly certain of that. I expect goals in that game as well. So, yeah, I think Mo's going to be captain. Bench looks strong, as said cover. And I've already had a few questions, by the way, Susan. Some are going to land on this. There's going to be a few bench boosts this week.
Yeah, I don't wouldn't surprise me. On the captaincy, I've got it bust on Mo with the vice on Isak, not on Palmer. I've got a fourth variable in there. I've got Chris Wood with Southampton at home, but I just don't think it's not take a punt week really. But Southampton at home for Chris Wood, he's been in good form as well. He's a very very rogue one. If I had a rank of like 2.5 million, I think I would do it 2.5 3 million, but it's not
I'd
really.
probably rank him sort of like fifth or sixth in terms of my order of
Yeah, I
preference
mean,
this
even
week. I think,
Gordon, like I look at my front five at the moment: Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Isak, Wood, all at home playing. Sorry, Salah's away, but Brentford, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, all at home games for the other four, looking pretty decent. So
yeah, I mean, look, I could make a move like Jackson to Wood now or Solanke to Wood, but I think, yeah, this week looks rough. Then I'm kind of happier to take him on for a little bit again. So, yeah, it's almost certainly a role for me.
good. Do you want to let the listeners know what they got to look forward to today in terms of your streams and stuff, particularly even the Patreon ones, and then we'll get into the game, James.
Yeah, patrons intermediate plus and above differential show this afternoon for advanced tier patrons. Team new streamers at 4:30. Deadline stream on YouTube as per usual for everybody 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I presume you'll be back with me Monday to review the latest shit show of a weekend.
Yeah, probably. We'll have to see. I'll have to
I
get my
say that
old
more from a
filer facts out and check.
I say that more from a Tottenham perspective than a FPL perspective.
Oh, yes, James, your Sunday's going to be a long old day.
Yes,
Right.
I'm on a coach at 10 past 6 in the morning.
Good. Let's talk about
No,
some
not
of
good,
these
good. Fuck a Bandy West
games.
Coast, honestly.
Brentford 2, Man City 2. Another game where they've run out of steam at the end. Another game where they've thrown away a lead. I don't know what the story is here necessarily. Look, Phil Foden, his ownership is particularly low, but it's like he's woken up again. That's 5 in the last 5 in terms of returns, but under 6% ownership still on Phil Foden. I don't have any desire to want to go there. But yes, they did end up drawing Desmond Tutu, mate.
Stories here. Firstly, credit to Brentford for obviously getting a result out of the game. I think for the majority of people who own Bumo or Vissa this week, and again, there's going to be a lot of benching dilemmas. I think I'm certainly on Bumo is a play. And I think in most cases, Vissa I would play as well over the majority of people that you might be
10 goals
umming
this
about.
season now. It's a pretty decent return for Visser.
He's got more Premier League goals for Brentford than Ivan Toney now. That
Okay.
feels really difficult to believe, doesn't it? But it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to forget that he was bought in the summer when they got promoted, and he's been on the fringes all the way through it. So
He
I
always
mean,
chips away. Yeah.
he's got a year on Tony now when you factor in obviously the suspension Tony had. Rico Henry, late substitute appearance and played in the FA Cup defeat to Plymouth last week as well. So knocking on the door of being close to being back, that would be a boost to them as well. The more
He's
the
down to
headlines,
4.3. He is. That's a
yeah,
pretty cheap price.
you're not going to dive into that for
Not
FPL
yet. Not
purposes,
yet.
but
Not yet.
yeah, as said, once you get the Liverpool fixture out of the way, Palace away, I mean, Tottenham at home looks great for the two offensive guys, doesn't it? West Ham away, Leicester away, Everton at home, Villa at home, then blank at Bournemouth. Yeah, I think once we get past this week, we'll really be having a big conversation about the two Brentford attacking players, Visser and Boomer again. Headlines for City from a fancy perspective. What's that for Foden now? 4 in 5 or something? Like we've
5 in 5
five in
returns.
five. 5 in 5 returns. So we now got a little bit of a streak.
One assist, but
We're
4 goals.
getting more consistency in their team selection at the moment, where he is playing off the right at the moment. And we would prefer him, I think, for fantasy reasons in central areas. But he's a little bit of a streak now. Good fixture this week away to Ipswich, then a tougher run. Not one for me to chase and go after personally, but those who are obviously have been on are going to be really pleased. And you've got another really good fixture this week. He certainly falls into an absolute line of, well, could this be a really good differential captaincy this week? I think there's too many other good options personally, and I think City are still too erratic, as shown by the end of the game. The team
I'm not sure, James, on Foden. I'll tell you why. If you want to go like on a streak, Savinho's 6 returns in 3, but then obviously 3 assists, and they're all assists bar 1 goal. I think I'd punt on Savinho because of his price point, and he has played the last 4 now. I think because of his price point, if he didn't return, it'd piss me off less than if I bought Foden and he didn't return. Like, I've got expectations at 9.2 that I probably don't have at 6.5 million. Again, the actual answer is neither for me. But if I was going to go in, I think Savinho, maybe after game week 28 and 29, might be one to look at.
There's nothing that's going to make me think about a Manchester City player till game week 29.
Yeah, no, that's the actual answer. But though, if you own him, you're not selling him as well.
Oh, no. If you've got a City player, I don't think you sell this way. Although Rico Lewis owners, that's the one that's not been consistent in the team selection. Matthias Nunes played right back on Tuesday night. I think the reasoning for that is as well is Nunes kind of really can do the touchline stuff. And then you can get Foden off the right-hand side to be where he's dangerous. I mean, the 2 goals he scored aren't in coming off the right-hand side, right? This is him being in central areas. That also puts the brakes on a little bit of Vardy. So by consequence, you own both. By Lewis not being in the team, actually doesn't look great for Vardy either at the moment. If that changed where Diaz got back in the team instead of Nunes and Lewis and Akanji played right back, then that would be like a really good layout for Vardy to push on down the left-hand side. But at the moment, Savinho's playing now, and he's obviously doing quite well at the moment. Kevin De Bruyne getting some consistency in minutes. This team selection is beginning to look like it's a little bit more settled. They are trying to do business in this window. They are definitely going to spend. It looks like they're going to spend upwards of 100 million on a few players as well. So we need to keep an eye on that over the next couple of weeks. Another reason for me not to invest at this moment. The headline this morning, Suj, I don't know if you've seen it.
Erling Haaland, new contract.
9.5 years.
Is it? I didn't see the length. I just saw him with his dad and a pen and a contract, the usual contract signing photo.
When I saw 9.5
years,
I had to check that Chelsea hadn't bought him. It's such a Chelsea move, isn't it? 9.5
that is bizarre.
years.
Because the thing is, there's not even a transfer fee involved with that length of contract where you're trying to spread it. Even if there was, you're not allowed to spread it over more than 5 years.
I'm really surprised. Not that it's bad news for City. It's not bad news for City, but it does, for the foreseeable, lock them into a certain way of playing, and they will continue to be easy to play through. Please watch back the first goal and watch Haaland. You need to watch the full build up to get the context behind it, but it's pathetic.
There's always thought that he will end up in Spain at some point. I think for his career, I think he would want to. He's young enough that he can do another couple of seasons at City. What City have done is guaranteed themselves a ridiculous transfer fee, because whenever these clubs from Spain come in a couple of years, he's going to have a monster contract. So I think it's more around protecting the sale value on Haaland than it is anything to do with expectation that he could be there for 9.5 years. But also, he could be there for 9.5 years. Interesting. Look,
Uh,
last time they announced the big contract, it didn't help them. So, when Pep signed, they went on a shitty run straight after that. So
yeah, true.
it is what it is.
Haaland, of course, is captainable this week.
Yeah, no
If
doubt.
you owned at Ipswich,
I mean, I'm playing Lewis and Guardiola in my bus team at the moment, James, because it's
I
Ipswich away.
don't know if Lewis is going to play, man.
I need my head checked.
He should do.
I need my head checked.
Yeah, for me, what I would say is for Haaland owners, and we know people have chosen this path, I think there will be an inner feel and desire to want to slash need to captain him this week because the fixtures that are good run out afterwards. And next week, you can say, oh, Chelsea at home, Chelsea are a bit shaky defensively, out of form at the moment. But you're looking at things like Isak's going to Southampton and Salah's got Ipswich at home. Like, even with a home fixture next week, he's probably not in the top two choices, is he?
No.
So yeah, you need to think about what you're doing after this week. And City's fixture run from 23 to 28 prior to the blank is pretty shy, and that's why. Hence, yeah, for me, City not looking at now till game at 29.
Cool, cool, cool. Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 2.
In which the majority of this game could have gone either way. Certainly, in the sense that Bournemouth were ahead, they certainly could have won it, and they put in a very spirited performance. They've obviously got injury issues. James Hill's got injured during the game. They've had to move Lewis Cook to right back. Andoni Iraola's also done his press conference this morning. I've not seen any injury updates from that yet, but a lot of the conversation surrounds around like, are you buying a number nine? And he's like, yeah, we'd want to because of the Evan Nilsson and NSU now injuries, but they find it difficult in the market to find something that they want. And I guess Evan Nilsson's their guy, right? And he'll probably be back sort of end of March, early April. So you're not trying to buy a first choice number nine, if that makes sense. So then everything you do, I think you're second guessing, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? So that they go to Newcastle this weekend. And then there's Forest at home. Neil Grover's going to be on Clash of Correspondence with Mark Southerns. We're going to preview Bournemouth Forest next week. They have got near enough the best run from 25 to the blank of 29. So we do need to watch them closely. And if they don't buy a nine, one of Utara or Semenyo is going to be mad interesting over that period. Utara is the one who's played as the OOP in this one. Semenyo is obviously the one who's got the returns. He's had one of these distant shots that has finally flown in. It's a brilliant strike. It also wins the penalty, obviously, which Justin Kluivert converted. Kluivert didn't start. If Cook's going to move to right back, that means Christie will go deeper, which means Kluivert will come back in the team. So if you're a Kluivert owner, I wouldn't particularly, probably the 8-pointer I think he got this week probably makes you feel right anyway, but I wouldn't be overly concerned that he didn't start this particular game. I just think there was an element of rotation about that. Yeah, Bournemouth is one we really need to watch closely in the next few weeks. They're kind of almost the best pound for pound team, really. Like I don't look, even though Isak is on a mad run, I'm looking at him going, yeah, they'll give Newcastle a proper football match tomorrow. And I don't really doubt that at all, actually. It's so high energy. I spoke yesterday on the Clayton and James show about this one tracking back moment from Semenyo where he's gone from left wing to right back and then goes three-quarter pace back into his position on the left wing. That's with 5 minutes to go. And he's an attacking player. So they work really hard for each other. They've got defensive issues, like particularly in the right back area and obviously the forward areas at the moment, but doing incredibly well. No, we're not diving into Reece James. Cole Palmer is
On
certainly.
Semenyo, just talking about them, I'm not playing him Newcastle, Forest, or Liverpool,
This is why I can't.
but straight after that, I want him.
Yeah, get that.
Southampton, Wolves, Brighton. So I'm kind of like, I've got other players on cover. So he's the one that was going to make way for Amad for me, but I'm kind of like, I don't need it. I can just bench him for 3 weeks because I've got other players that've got decent enough fixtures.
Ironically,
and then I want him for Southampton, Wolves, Brighton.
Yeah, ironically, they play each other obviously tomorrow. I can see like Gordon to a Bournemouth player. That might sound daft right now. I can see that sort of move appealing in 25, particularly if Newcastle have reached the Carabao Cup final. Because then Newcastle have a run of City, Forest, Liverpool, West Ham away, blank.
Yep.
Whereas that's where Bournemouth's fun starts. So I can see moves where it's like, yeah, Gordon to Semenyo, Tara, X other, and then it might be go back up to a more expensive forward, for example. It might be something that also allows people to put Bumo back in at that point. That's another one that might be popular. 25 is Gordon to Bumo for those who are not on the Brentford attacker. Cole Palmer's definitely captainable this week, but you sound like you're not considering that, Suj.
The pros are obviously it's a Monday night game, so he's got the most amount of recovery time compared
So
to
however
Isak.
shit, no, what that means is however shit your game week is, you don't have to quite reveal it on the
Quite worry
podcast
about
on
it until
Monday.
Monday night. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so yeah, it's not that I'm not considering it, but I don't think it's enough. I think Brentford will give up a lot of chances. We saw that with City this week as well, that they've gone and conceded two. I think Liverpool will do okay, and I also think Liverpool want to get back a win on the board. So yeah,
Jackson continues to frustrate, but is in no danger here from a minute's perspective. Remember, Chelsea's turnaround here is Tuesday to Monday. And then I don't think the Manchester City games, I think it's the Saturday evening, I want to say in game week 23. Forgive me, I might have that wrong. But there's nice spacing for them there anyway. That's no problem. So he'll continue to play. He's played the 90 here. There's been some speculation that Nkunku obviously might even move on towards Bayern Munich. I definitely want to keep Jackson for this week. I spoke a bit about some of his data stuff yesterday, but I think that the big one here for me after the Wolves game is gone, I still see West Ham at home 24, Southampton at home 27-28 is really good. Yeah, I can see me in a scenario where I end up reversing transfers I've made. Like I can see me going Gordon back to Jota in 24, for example. I can see me going Jackson to Gakpo and then Gakpo back to Jackson in a number of weeks. I can see that potential
Jackson's a
happening.
difficult one. People that own or want to make the case for Jackson will say, look, his XG is through the roof. It's over one in so many games, and the goals are going to come. And people that don't own him will say, well, he constantly underperforms and fuck the XG, just that the only stat that matters is goals, and he hasn't been scoring any recently. Well, not enough. So you can spin your narrative either way. You're taking a punt on whether you think it will turn and the goals will start coming.
I don't
Or
think you buy him at this stage.
He's just a shit finisher. Yeah, I'm not looking at it because you got to go. If you had the choice of Gakpo or Jackson,
I'd gamble Gakpo if I was doing that
because
now,
of the double all day long. So
I wouldn't make that transfer this week, but if I was buying one new, yeah, it wouldn't be Jackson this week.
Yeah, he's not even come into my consideration. Yeah, agreed.
Romeo Lavia back, that's important. So Moises Caicedo started in the right back position. It's worth saying that the game was 1-1 and then disappeared for Chelsea for a little bit, I felt, when Lavia went off as well. And actually, he looked like Bournemouth were probably going to hold on. I can't say that Chelsea were battering down the door. They had very good chances earlier in the game, but towards the end of the game, it looked like Bournemouth were going to hold on. Lavia's return frees up Enzo Fernandez a little bit. And Enzo Fernandez is not a player I'd want to sell this week if I owned. Afterwards, I think the owner should really look at it. The other thing with Jackson and Palmer is, I think it's relatable to Chelsea, is just a wider conversation, is those wide players I don't feel are going to contribute enough. Like Neto, Sancho and Madueke, I don't think that they're getting enough in terms of the attacking returns to almost take away from them. It does feel like there's a real importance on Palmer and Jackson to get the returns. Jackson is, Gary Mantle said this, our Chelsea correspondent as well, he's going to have a really good day really soon, I think. And I guess from a fancy perspective, I'm hoping it's Monday and then I might go, yeah, thank you very much and bye-bye. I'd be more inclined to hold him, I think, if he blanks.
Yeah, I mean,
in a weird way.
I'm not getting anywhere near it. I get it. I think if you ask me, I'm erring on the side of that he's a streaky and sometimes shitty finisher, and so I wouldn't want to take the risk right now.
One other quick point on Chelsea is they've recalled Trevor Chalobah.
They did, but I wasn't sure if that was to then sell him.
No, I don't think it is.
Because obviously FFP, they need to make money
No,
on
I
a
don't.
player. I didn't know if they were recalling him then to look at actually trying to find a permanent deal to get some cash in.
I don't think so, because in any case, they could still just try and force that through in June, couldn't they?
Yeah.
They're not liable to get any more money now than
time.
they'd get in June, if that was the circumstance. Obviously, Josh Achiampong has been covering right-sided centre-back and doing fine by all accounts. He's 4.0, so might have been attracting attention. If Chalobah's been recalled, I presume he's going to go back into this team. And with the shape of Caicedo moving from right back, Chalobah is the right-sided centre-back that kind of moves to right side of a back three. suits stylistically. It is so interesting that he kind of got jettisoned in the summer, and they've got obviously Fofana injured. Obviously, Maresca has decided he doesn't think much of this side, and I think most other Chelsea fans would probably agree with that. So I think Chelsea fans are really pleased that Chalobah is back, and I think he'll go in that team. And he's quite cheap, isn't he, Chalobah? So it'd be one
Yeah.
to keep an eye on in forthcoming weeks.
West Ham 3, Fulham 2, James. Fantastic victory for the Magic Man, Graham Potter. Though that's not really.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yeah. It's not really the story of the game. I think we spoke about it on our Tottenham podcast that we do for patrons on Wednesday. Sometimes it's a bit of Tottenham, sometimes a bit of Tottenham. 3 shots on target for West Ham, 3 goals. 2 from errors as a result of a press, and then obviously 1 good goal for West Ham. Fulham, on the other hand, had plenty of chances, but scored from 2 crosses from Alex Iwobi.
Both assisted by Anthony Robinson.
This is Anthony Robinson. Okay, what is it? 9 assists now this season.
I think he's third for assists now. I think
9.
It's only Salah and Saka have got
3
more.
of them.
I think
3 of them came in one game against Liverpool. Was it? I think from memory, he got 3 assists in one game.
He got 2 assists at Anfield. Yeah, 2 assists, 2-2, wasn't it?
Was it 2 assists in that game? And then he's got 2 assists again here, but like they're fantasy assists. Yeah, you're right. 2 assists in that game. They're not assists.
Real assists. Well, the 2 at Liverpool were, in fairness, right? And he has had some very good ones this season.
I think, like, take the points and run if you own him. But also, from a footballing point of view, it's not a behavior. It's not a pattern that's like replicable. He's not going to continue to pass the ball to Alex Iwobi on the wing, and he's going to cross it, and it's going to end up in the back of the net. So I do think that his assist number is a little bit inflated with fantasy assists as opposed to real footballing assists. But that's not a criticism. Take the points and run, but it doesn't make me want to rush towards him. I still think I'm looking at Fulham because they've got decent fixtures coming up. I think I'd just go Anderson, cheap at 4.2.
Castagna.
Yeah.
I feel like I would only go Anderson.
Booked.
Castagna scored in the cup last week, right? So, I think actually, to be fair, I think Anderson scored in the same game. But there is capability there. Tete, we now don't think it's going to be back till April.
That was my question is what's the longevity on Tete's
Yeah, and
injury?
I don't think they'll buy an addition in that position. So Castagna is going to play the games. If you've got your second wild card, I'd go Castagna over Anderson. If you've used that second wild card, I would understand you'd be like, okay, I need to think about this for pretty much because you don't want to piss about with that position. Yeah, I would think about Anderson maybe under that sort of circumstance. Can I raise a subject here to save me some time maybe on the deadline stream tomorrow, please?
Yes.
Because I can already see the build of nightmare for this. Anthony Robinson is going to cause a major headache for people this week. So I want to ask you some questions. Would you play him over Trent?
No.
Would you play him over Gabriel?
No.
Would you play him over Lewis Hall?
No.
Would you play him over Levi Colwill?
No.
Home to Wolves. Would you play him over Munoz away to West Ham?
Yes.
I'd probably have Robinson above Colwill, but otherwise I kind of agree with you. Honestly, I've already seen so many teams. It's like, do I start him? Do I don't start him? Etc. Etc. I think the 3 you've said, Hall, Gabriel, Trent, which is the 3 I've got. Yeah, I mean, if I owned him, there's every chance I wouldn't start him this week. I just would not be benching Lewis Hall.
Yeah.
At the moment with a home fixture. But for many of the others, yes, I probably would play him. Those who are on Alex Iwobi, I guess, will have similar dilemmas this week, but they may well find they've got that combined with Rodgers, for example, in which case you definitely play Iwobi. As a reminder, Fulham obviously go to Leicester tomorrow. Yeah, I think Raul Jimenez again offers potentially a solution for people, doesn't it? How did he play?
He played well. He had a number of chances. I mean, one of the Iwobi crosses, it was Jimenez that was trying to get a nick on it that would have put it in the back of the net. There are quite strong rumours that West Ham are trying to get Rodrigo Muniz, if not on loan until the end of the season to buy. Like if Muniz comes to West Ham, then it makes Jimenez even more appealing because you think, okay, now he's going to start getting 80 and 90 minutes in a lot of the games. He had chances. He could have, should have scored. I think Jimenez is not far from my thoughts. It's just not a situation, a problem that I need to solve right now. Is my third striker. Like Wood's not going anywhere. Isak's not going anywhere. And I want Gakpo because of the double. So Jimenez is quite low down on my list of needs for that position. But still, he was looking lively and sharp.
Yeah, they've got a cluster of fixtures up to the blank, which I think when you combine them all together, is a pretty good run. Newcastle away 24 is the one you think I don't want to play in that. Otherwise, be pretty content, I think, in all the other games to play your Robinsons or Jimenez's if you
they just started the first half
invested.
a little slower. The second half they were much better. West Ham, unfortunately, is a real void at the moment, James.
It is.
I say unfortunately,
despite you winning.
I don't care. Yeah, no news on Somerville's injury. He's still potentially out. Potter said in his press conference yesterday, no news. Kudus went down, and
it sounded hopeful that Somerville would probably make this weekend. Yeah,
but you wouldn't put money on it.
No, true.
Kudus was subbed at 62 minutes after taking a knock, though he probably will be okay. But with this much kind of chopping and changing and moving around, there's just no rhythm there. And West Ham have been better in the two games under Potter defensively against Villa and Fulham, but have still conceded 2 in both games. So you're kind of like, do you really want to go there? I don't think so. Wan-Bissaka, I think he's up to 4 assists this season now. No, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, his record season when he was Man United was 2 goals, 5 assists, which isn't anything to write home about. But he is getting forward a little bit. And it was interesting that when Kudus had to come off, they played Wan-Bissaka ahead of Soufal, like as in that kind of winger role. I don't know why, but you're really, if that's the decision that you have, then you're really clutching at straws here, because there ain't nothing to be had at West Ham.
Yeah, it's interesting because ordinarily, obviously, your new manager coming, you suspect bounce, and you think, oh, I want to look at them because they might have a bit of an upturn. I think when you look at Villa and Chelsea away at the 2 games that follow Palace at home, and Palace never feels like a great fixture anyway, and there's Arsenal away 26 as well. Now, maybe there's, sort of going into game week 27, Leicester at home, Newcastle at home, then Everton away in the blank. Jared Bowen will certainly be back by then. There's a good chance he'd be back before the end of the month, actually, Suj. But yeah, despite your victory, it's nothing to consider for West Ham.
No,
I think,
and that's a fantasy thing. I think there will be an upturn, James, in performance and a little bit of results, but it won't translate to fantasy returns.
Other than we sat here on Monday and was like, is he going to stay in goal? And I think we'd be pretty confident that Flappy is still number 1 now, right?
Yep, okay. For sure. Although Areola was on the bench, I think he'd missed the game because of injury and had come back onto the bench, or was going to be okay for the bench this week. Let me double check.
So not 100% then?
Not 100%, but Areola wasn't on the bench, but is going to be on the bench this weekend. Sorry.
Okay, so Areola's not. Was he not in the squad Friday night?
No.
Okay, so we don't know.
Tuesday night, but yeah.
Yeah, avoid that. I mean,
avoid
that's another one where I've seen people asking about bench boost this week, and obviously Flappy is the common one in terms of the goalkeeper on the bench. Are you not 100% that Flappy starts there?
No, I'm pretty sure. I'd say 90%. Yeah.
The 90's not enough, man. For goalkeeper in a single game week, it's not enough.
If Ariola's coming back from a knock, he's going to play. I mean, what other choice have you got? I think if it was me, I would do it. If I had Flappy on my bench and I was looking at bench boosting, I'd feel confident enough that he would play.
I'm sure he probably will, and 90% is strong.
It's enough for me.
Okay, all right. Well.
Forest 1, Liverpool 1, another draw. I mean, on the chances and on the stats, Liverpool clearly dominated the game, 71% possession, as you'd expect. They had 4 big chances, more than double, well, just about double the number of passes completed. More than double, than Nottingham Forest, as you'd expect. Similar to the game at Anfield, though, Forest led for a large chunk of it from the beginning this time round, rather than nicking it closer towards the end. Liverpool should have won, right? Really.
Yeah.
But also, Forest are just really good at digging in and hitting you on the counter.
Yeah, I think the key period for Forest is they now are in a different position where they've got to win games like Sunday with you set new objectives, right? It's not like season over if they lose, but clearly you've got to win that fixture now. Then I think the 6 games afterwards, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham, Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City, that's going to define them because actually their run till the end from there is pretty good. If they're in the top five after they've played City in 28, I think there's every chance they'll do it and qualify for the Champions League. Bearing in mind, as we keep saying, fifth is highly likely to be enough to qualify.
They've only conceded one goal more than Arsenal.
Yeah,
Defensively, just solid as a rock.
I don't know how, based on the last 20 minutes of what I watched on Tuesday, because I mean, but the number one reason there's some very good defending in there. You think of Aina clearing off the line from Salah, but I mean, Sells has made some great saves in there. I think the best one's the one from Gakpo, you know, the long distance one, because the deflection it takes, he can't go too early. The Forest fans still feel like they need a new goalkeeper because I think he's perfectly adequate at the moment. You're saying you want to bring him in fantasy. Advise against goalkeeper transfers unless you've got a massive swing of fixtures. And I think Forest is about to get worse, boss.
Yeah, I think they're going to do all right because a lot of the home fixtures in there, I think they're going to set themselves right.
I think because of that run coming up, again, Forest come back around for me probably 29 in terms of the blank. So Wood, it's worth noting, is going to be really popular going into the blank. Anyone who free hits that week is probably going to stick him in, you would imagine, and probably a defensive one. Nico Williams, I think, is going to really need to be looked at now. He's playing ever so well. The closer we get to the end of the window, the less and less likely it looks like they're going to invest in a left back. And I don't know if there's enough up on the other guys like Milenkovic to feel like that's worth paying. I mean, Aina's, what, 0.8 more expensive than
A lot
Williams?
more now, yeah. Yep.
I mean, if you need to find money, that's sideways, but if you need to find 0.67 to make the transfer you want, doing something like Aina to Williams would not be the worst idea if you can, you know, if you've bought Aina fairly late, for example. Wood's definitely still the one if you want offensive. I know Ilanga, I think it's 5.2.
I'd find the money for Amad.
I just think with the fixtures coming up, I wouldn't
Yeah, I'd
be
find the money for
chasing it
Amad.
at this point, personally. For Liverpool, I spoke about this yesterday, that I think it's kind of like on my Ask James stream, kind of like a mix between positive and negative. Negative because the first half wasn't good. Negative that you wouldn't have, I think, for Liverpool, just taken a draw before the game, I think would be negative. And then negative that they didn't win the game, but positive the way they played following the two substitutions. And I've seen players come on and score with their first touch before. Reminded me very much of Lucas Moura coming on at Man City in the 1920 season, exactly the same as Jota, off the bench, straight in from a corner from that side, bang, scored. But I don't think I've seen two substitutes come on, one take the corner and one score from it with both their first touches. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Shimikas, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think he's going to get really close to pushing Robertson. And he's the sort of one that wouldn't be on your radar now. But let's say Robertson got injured tomorrow. Oh, shit. Do I want to have a look at that? Particularly for those, am I getting a Trent? I wouldn't stress about that sort
for the
of thing.
double, would you rather that than the upside of the extra attacker?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying there might be people, say, listening now, who'd be like, oh, I haven't got any Liverpool defence. They might be thinking about Canate, right? Which is, I get it. It's a solid pick. He'll play the games. It's dull. Shimikas is going to have some corners in there and some open play threat and will be cheaper. If something happened to Robertson as an example, it would be, I'd want to probably go there. And I'd even look at that possibly, Suj, and think, yeah, I could go Jackson to Gakpo, for example, but I could just go like Colwell to Shimikas. I think, yeah, do you know what? I leave Jackson because I really like those fixtures for Jackson. And effective might save me a transfer further down the line and I do it a different way. Yeah, I intend to captain Mo this week. Based on Arne Slot's news this morning, we can expect, I think, the same start in front three. Darwin Núñez obviously returns from suspension. Big game for Liverpool tomorrow.
Indeed. Let's talk
If they
about
don't
Everton.
win it and then Arsenal playing straight afterwards, the bum will begin to squeak.
Gap gets smaller, indeed. Everton 0, Aston Villa 1. The first game of the David Moyes' second coming, Moyesiah. I didn't get to see any of this game, James, but if you look at it on paper, stats-wise, XG is very similar, 1.1 to 1.2. Big chances, 3 for Everton, 4 for Aston Villa. Possession, 50-50. Passes, 417 to 430. It looks on paper like a very even game and could have gone either way. I'm not sure what the Everton fans or Villa fans will say, though.
I haven't seen enough of it to be able to comment, but what I can say is that I think two of those three big chances fell to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And I
Oh,
don't want to
wow.
say I don't want to say anything else because they're playing my team at the weekend. And if Dominic Calvert-Lewin needs a doctor at the moment, then he may get seen on Sunday afternoon at Goodison, right?
Nice.
But clearly, scoring goals is a big problem for them at the moment. You don't have enough good creativity in that team with Dwight McNeil missing. For the benefit of those on the audio, so just disappeared from the screen. So I'm now talking to myself, which is not awkward in any way whatsoever. Cheers, boss. Dwight McNeil, we don't think will be back for Sunday at this stage. Lindstrom and Harrison, whoever else is playing, isn't pulling up trees. Decore probably will stay in the 10 position for a bit. People might want to keep an eye on that in into the double, considering Moyes' work with the likes of Fellaini and Souček historically. But generally speaking, no interest in Everton attackers going forward. Mikalenko would be the one of the defensive guys because he's going to play and he's cheap. And Jordan Pickford obviously offers a solution. If you're looking for a goalkeeper, and I wouldn't rule out the possibility of going Raya to Jordan Pickford across the next couple of weeks, particularly if I need to find some money. But Pickford really is the only Everton player on radar for me. If I start going things like Mikalenko and I start looking and going, let's say I bought Mikalenko in for Colwell, and then I look at game week 24 and it's like, oh, Everton got a double. What am I going to do? Bench Lewis Hall with a home game instead? I'm not sure that makes too much sense, really. So I think Jordan Pickford's the only Everton one on radar for me. For Villa, Arsenal away next, and then a couple of good ones, West Ham, Wolves, Ipswich, a nice three, which means Ollie Watkins' owners should probably hold on. He probably doesn't start one of the next two. And what I mean by that is Arsenal away Saturday and then Monaco away on Tuesday. But I think having scored, I think Watkins probably first and foremost plays again against Arsenal this weekend. Nice to see you, Suj. Thanks for coming back.
Apologies. It's all kicking off in my house, James. You might want to even hit pause.
All right, mate. Do you actually want me to hit pause?
Yeah.
Unpaused, we're back. Morgan Rogers played a wider right position by the looks of it. When I did my predicted lineup for the team news and deadline streams, I did think I was looking at Rogers, Ramsey, and Bailey all in there, and I thought I don't know if that might be a little bit of overkill, maybe. And he's ended up playing Tielemans in the 10 position and playing Amadou Onana in his against his old club. Rogers will be benched by me this weekend. There is the impact for me, obviously, of having the double Arsenal defence makes it an easier bench. If you don't own any Arsenal defensive, I guess there's still a temptation to play him. He ticks over great. The investment is still coming for him. And as I said, there's 3 really good fixtures after the Arsenal game. Defensively, I'd still avoid at the moment. It's worth noting Tyrone Mings obviously getting a little bit of a run now. And I do think, although Pau Torres is really good in terms of his distribution, I think Mings is a better out-and-out defender in terms of like defending the penalty area and stuff. And that may lead to a little bit more of what we see on Wednesday. Clean sheet. But, I mean, if you're looking for a clean sheet in this league at the moment, you're probably looking for Everton, aren't you? I don't really want to talk about Everton anymore because I'm playing my team next, boss.
All I would add on Everton is the fact that I keep saying Mikalenko because of the double. I hate myself because I look at all the fixtures, and other than the first fixture of the double, the home game against Leicester, every other fixture for the next 6 or 8, I don't see any points. So I'm like, am I really getting that blinded by the double and only one fixture of the double to use a transfer on Mikalenko? I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, what you missed me say was like, if I got him in,
Yeah.
I'm obviously not benching Trent in the double. I mean, would I play Mikalenko with the double over Gabriel against City?
I mean,
Gabriel could be a 15-pointer against City. You know that, considering the last fixture as well, like they'll be going for Gabriel on the set plays in that one.
Yeah, there's every chance I might skip Mikalenko and just have the 3 Liverpool for the double. I don't like myself for wanting to make that transfer, so I might just skip it and avoid it. Although Leicester didn't score in their home game against Crystal Palace, they haven't been scoring a lot of goals recently, so maybe there is a clean sheet to be had there.
Next game, boss.
Leicester 0, Palace 2. Those that had Munoz finally got some clean sheet points, attacking returns across the board. Mateta with the goal, Eze and Sarr with the assists there as well.
Mateta
Spread
takes the
around.
goal so well because he's got to take like a little touch of his left foot, and when it's on your bad side, you can easily underhit it or overhit it. Just in really small space, which just about onside. Goalkeeper's coming out, just gets a really nice weight on the little touch before finishing. They've got good fixtures still to come. If people want to go and look at Mateta, Eze, Sarr, they've also bought Esse now, by the way, from Millwall, which is going to be in no way confusing whatsoever. So you might have to start calling Ebe, or Eza properly to separate the two players. Munoz is the one to go for defensively. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. I do presume Chris Richards will now play regularly to cover for Chalobah, who's gone back to Chelsea. I don't think, from what people are saying to me, I don't think Chadi Riyadh is going to put too much pressure on that. So you could look at Richards as a cheaper way into the Palace defence, but I'd pay the extra for Munoz. Dean Henderson is an option. The problem you need to consider with Palace is these fixtures are really good, and they were obviously before this game as well. But as it stands, they are likely to blank in 29. Like, how much of a headache does that give you? Because the reality is, when you hit 29, you probably are, as it stands, wanting to bench Salahs and Isaks and carry these guys. Can you afford to carry a Palace one? Like, if you've got Henderson, if you've got Henderson and Fabianski as an example, or say that you want to invest in Henderson and you want to get him in for, let's say, Flecken, for argument's sake, and your other keeper is Fabianski, do you look at that with any air of nerves that, like, oh, Areola might come in for Fabianski by the time we get to game week 29? Like, that's a possibility, isn't it? And then suddenly you're like, I don't have a goalkeeper for 29. That's ugly. But then, at the same token, I don't expect, you wouldn't be expecting anything from Newcastle away anyway. So,
No.
like, wouldn't stress about it too much. Yeah, look, good fixtures for Palace. They're likely to come into a weakened West Ham at the moment, but you are on the bounce in terms of the mood around the club is obviously better. Brentford United, Everton, Fulham, and then Villa and Ipswich at home before the blank. It is a good run of fixtures. I probably still prefer to go Sarr to Eze, Sarr rather than Eze, just from a money perspective. But I guess people would now be looking more at Amad Diallo, or back next week, I'll be looking at Morgan Rogers again, possibly. Or even the Bournemouth player in a couple of weeks. So I don't think he's in for new interest. For those who have been on Sarr and like, oh, Eze's returned in a few in a row now, I wouldn't make that sideways move. I think if I was looking to invest in Palace at the moment, Mateta would be the one would be on radar for me most at the moment. So if Jackson got injured, for example, and then for whatever reason I got no interest in Gakpo, then Mateta would maybe offer a solution for me. And there'll be people on big quiet plays. You won't be investing in Leicester players.
No.
I think that's 6 defeats in a row, and the next few fixtures feel particularly important. Fulham at home, Tottenham away, Everton away. This could very quickly look like it slipped away for them.
Yeah, it's not looking good. They're just not scoring goals. They've scored 2 goals in the last 6 games.
It's worth saying that I think they were a bit unlucky in this one. They had chances. Vardy had a couple of chances and stuff. It felt like kind of from when Palace scored, the game got a bit easier for Palace. But prior to that, Leicester were well in this game. I think they're a little bit stronger offensively than they were under Kuban. They brought Buonanotte back into the team for this one, but I don't think they're stronger defensively.
But 2 goals in 6 games doesn't say that, does it? If you're not scoring goals, you've got no chance.
Yeah, and one of them was really early at Liverpool, wasn't it?
So, yeah.
Good news, Foxes fans. It's Tottenham in game week 23.
Newcastle 3, Wolves 0. James, what odds do you think the bookies would offer? So, Senor Isak has Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home to tie Jamie Vardy's record of 11 straight games in the Premier League, followed by City away to break the record.
I think this will be the tough one.
Bournemouth at home.
What's happened to your camera, boss?
It's just completely decided to go limp on me.
He's having one on me, mate.
There we go. I'd fancy a cheeky couple of quid on it, though, if the odds were good.
You've got to think about the scenario here, right? If he scores tomorrow, he'll score at Southampton. It feels like a near certainty, doesn't it? And then how hard are they going to be working to put it on a plate for him against Fulham?
Fulham. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Fulham are a good side as well, but you've got to think that, I mean, the whole ground will be aware of it. They'll be all be desperate for him to do it. And I realise there'll be a context of if the next two games go really well for Newcastle, then kind of really looking at really strong for Champions League qualification. I mean, as it stands, I think they'll go on and finish third, as
They're
it
on a
is at the
tear
moment.
at the
As
moment.
long
They're on
as they stay
absolute tear.
fit, as
And I
long
think
as
the
the team
ownership,
stays fit.
like the fantasy is so clear as well with Hall, Gordon, Isak. Like the fact that they were all three of them were the most transferred in players
Yeah,
last
and I
week
mean,
and have gone up again, I think, yesterday in price.
they're not the only Newcastle players to consider. I mean, have a look at Martin Dubravka's points
He's
since
been
he
doing
got in the
well.
team. It was 4.2. I think he's conceded like one goal. There've been
Or
people
three
who
now,
owned
he's had
him
a price rise, but yeah, cheap.
4-3. The 10-pointer in this one. And yeah, I think he's made 7 saves, and other than one right near the end from Strand Larson, I don't think any of them particular worldies as far as from what I've seen of the game. And so many of us owned him for a long period last year. Did we ever get anything out of him?
No.
No. And then this time it was like, oh, no one's looking at it this time. And yet, Solanke's goal, who else has scored against him? It's just
He's
Solanke.
only conceded one goal, which was
The Solanke
against
goal.
Short. He's kept 5 clean sheets in those 6 victories. Yeah.
And another one who would be getting, I think Guimaraes and Joel Linton under different circumstances would be getting attention, but I do think Gordon is worth paying the extra. And I also think Jacob Murphy is worth the saving. But to go Murphy, you're cutting yourself off of Hall, Gordon, or Isak. And I do think that's the
This is
strongest
it
three. And also with Murphy, there's the caveat that I keep saying they could buy someone in this window
for
that
sure.
would put a threat on his place in the team. But him as an enabler, I mean, he's doing great. But when I look at him versus Amad Diallo and Morgan Rogers and potentially a Bournemouth player again in a few weeks, etc., it's like, well, I ain't gonna have 3 from any of them, but I
No.
do want the best 3 from Newcastle, and that just absolutely feels like Hall, Gordon, Isak to me.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Certainly for the next few, anyway.
Any interest in Wolves?
No.
Cunha is available this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, he came in as a substitute, so he'll play at Chelsea on Monday night. It's worth remembering he scored a hat trick in that fixture last season.
Although
so
there were
good
rumours of Man
memories
City
for him.
putting a bid in for
Cunha. I don't think Wolves
but-
will sell him now. They can't.
no.
They stay up if he stays fit. They're in trouble if they let him go. I mean, what's the value of that transfer to Wolves? Finally goes in the summer. Is he not just recently signed a new contract as well?
Joint. Well, I mean, that makes not too much difference. They're going to need
He's-
the money.
he's not gonna
Joint
go
on
this
points
window.
now with Ipswich. But Wolves have now conceded the most goals in the league. 48 goals they've conceded in 21 games now.
For Wolves, next fixtures: Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home, Liverpool away, then Bournemouth away. I can see me, however, Suj, making a kind of chain of transfers that goes Jackson to Gakpo in 23 and Gakpo to Cunha in 26 in time for Wolves run Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, Southampton in the blank. And in Bournemouth, Fulham don't stand out massive, but the closer you get to that blank, Cunha against Southampton, yes, please. I mean, just looking at game week 29 briefly now, Suj, if you were free hitting, what's your front three there? Is it Haaland, Wood, Cunha?
Definitely Haaland. There's no doubt about it.
What are you doing, mate?
I don't know. The webcam's just completely. It's just having a mind of its own. It just won't. It's one of those that moves around, and it just is drooping. James,
Have you got to hold it? Have you? I think this is probably a setting.
No,
that you can-
it's
This is so
I don't know
terrible for
why
the
it's
audio.
doing what it's doing. Yeah, head over to YouTube and whatever the time is, like it's just not staying on. Normally, it just stays up, and
Can you not?
It's got it's floppy, James. It needs Chris
Right.
Wood
Anyway,
next to it.
game
Go
week
on.
29. When I'm looking at fixtures now, I'm thinking if it's a free hit, I'm thinking, yeah,
Here
it's
we go.
probably Cunha at Southampton,
Cunha-
Wood at Ipswich, Haaland against Brighton. That's the
Haaland
front
and Wood
three
for
free hit.
sure. And which games are you assuming are off though? Liverpool and
I mean, yeah, obviously,
Newcastle.
if Newcastle Palace goes ahead, then yeah, Isak.
I think
And
Solanke
then,
at
but then
Fulham.
Villa Liverpool's the other one. So
Solanke at Fulham.
it's a good idea to put this sort of thought process in your head, I think, right? Because if someone free hits and that's the front three you're going with, right? That's if you're not free hitting, that's what you're competing against, right? So for me, I don't own any of them three players.
Yeah, I get that. I also think I don't know, Hoyland at Leicester.
Not on what I watched last night. We'll get back
Yeah,
to that.
no, I think Cunha at Southampton. Yeah, Cunha at Southampton, Wood at Ipswich, Haaland at home. I think makes sense.
Also, let me tell you, when we hit game week 27, 28, Ray and Ain't Nori is going to be a thing again.
Okay, you heard it here first. Cheers. I
But
didn't mean
listen,
that in my
again,
life.
if you're going into a blank and they've got Everton at home and then Southampton away in a blank, you're just automatically going to look at that, aren't you? If you hit 28 and you want to buy a defender for a couple of weeks, that's what you're looking at. And it's not like it's terrible afterwards. It's West Ham at home in 30. So even the fixture afterwards is not too bad if you need it as well. So
I feel like
Ain't Nori will be a thing again.
you're bringing up random shit to not talk about the next game, James. Ray and Ain't Nori.
Well,
No.
I think you said you wanted to keep this podcast quite short, didn't
Well,
you, in
let's
any
just skip
case?
Arsenal. Spurs. No, very quickly. The way you're talking about game week 29, are you pretty sure you're not free hitting? Because for
No,
me,
don't know.
working towards players that don't blank, I don't really care because I'm pretty convinced that I will be free hitting in 29.
No, as per what I discussed on Monday, for me, it's like, right, what's in front of your face? Right, that double game week, we now know it factually. Everton, Liverpool, 24, right? So the focus for me right now is I've got a good team this week, roll. Right, Liverpool play Ipswich next. That's when I want to make the decision. If I can't make the decision next week, then it's getting made in 24. I'm definitely going for Liverpool, right? So that's the first thing that's happening. Then when I hit 25, then I'm looking at a bunch of teams that maybe aren't on my radar now so much, like Bournemouth, Brentford, and heading then towards 29. Plus, by the time I get to 25 after the Liverpool double, I know where I'm at for 29. I know the games that are postponed. So I don't need to think about the blank of 29 till I factually know which two games are going to be postponed. And again, as per Monday's podcast that I recommend, there is a possibility that anything that's postponed isn't even postponed because
Yeah.
it could, in theory, be played 2 weekends later on the FA Cup quarterfinals, which would still be blank game with 29. So under that, as I said to you Monday, if it's just Newcastle Palace postponed, you're going to free hit in 29. Well, no one is. Everyone will have the free Newcastle, maybe a bit of Palace, and just make a transfer, don't you? You're not. If that was the circumstance, you're not going to go and do that. So no, I'm not thinking about 29 till 25. But what I do have a consciousness about it is, right, you got a good week, don't make a transfer for the sake of it, James, because I think everybody should head towards it as if they're going to need to go through it. But come 25, you can make a decision to go, okay, yeah, I am going to free hit in that week, for example.
Okie
33,
dokie.
34 will be more difficult to manipulate, no doubt about it. And obviously, if Newcastle do still go out of the Carabao Cup, and Arsenal and Chelsea is postponed instead, well, it's a different front three for that free hit, isn't it? Because this sack will certainly be in it, man. What a player.
Arsenal 2, Spurs 1. Obviously, you took the lead, but Arsenal came back and yeah, deserved the victory. I think the kind of takeaways from a Spurs point of view, I'm not really looking at any Spurs assets, despite the fact that you've got Everton and Leicester as your next two. I
Got
mean,
my ticker on the next two.
yeah, I get it. I
If you're
mean,
looking
if
for something between now and the double,
a specific case of a couple, yes, but it would be offensive, not defensive, because of the injuries that you do have, and you are conceding goals. I don't think Solanke or any of those guys are bad picks, just not for me right now. But it would be short termism for me with Spurs assets. Arsenal, on the other hand, a lot of people now coming off this double defence. You talked about Raya to Pickford to free up a little bit of money, maybe. That they've been leaky ever since you told me they hadn't conceded a goal at home since, like, was it October or something crazy like that? They've conceded
Salah,
in all their home
Liverpool,
games.
wasn't it? Game week 9.
They've conceded in all their home games, including cup games since then.
I'm not worried about cut games for fantasy purposes, mate.
No, but they're conceding goals at home, James. Fortress Emirates.
Okay, they've just played 3 teams that have attacking potential. I mean, Newcastle flying. Bruno Fernandes' goal on Sunday is incredible. And obviously this one from Sonny is obviously deflected and fortuitous. All 3 goals in the game had an air of luck about them. Sonny's goal deflected, the equaliser an own goal. And Trossard's goal, obviously Anthony Kinski should save. He should do better. He does take an awkward kick up just before getting towards him, but he should still save it. There's no doubt about that. Deserved victory for Arsenal, unquestionable. Definitely could have won by more. I've not watched a lot of it back, but I was in that shitty flat away end, and it kind of just felt like we were hanging in the game. Really, I mean, there's a little bit of reflection on it and going like, the mood for Arsenal really positive in terms of how they played seems to be the vibe, and we were bad, and yet we were within a goal of them and still within the game late on. It never felt like Arsenal were going to truly pull away. I mean, there's a massive anxiety around that stadium when they get in and around the box at the moment. It's like you can hear the crowd say, shoot, like someone please shoot, get on with it. They are fluffing their lines from that perspective. So on what I saw again the other night, do I want to invest in an Arsenal attacker at the moment, be it Havertz? Martinelli will definitely play now tomorrow, or Odegaard. Do I want any of that, or Trossard? No interest in chasing that at the moment. But I also don't want to cut off that defence. The goalkeeper's great. The back four are outstanding. That Lewis Skelly is some talent, mate. The size of him on 18, such a little unit.
Is he 18 or 17 even?
He's
I
18,
don't know what he.
I think.
He's a kid, whatever he is.
But
And,
I mean, he's
yeah.
just seamlessly gone into that team. And it's a shame he's not classified as a defender at 4.5 because we'd really be looking at that. Gabriel and Saliba outstanding at centre back. Timber just doesn't let you breathe. I mean, Son got nothing out of him at the top end of the pitch at all. So I think just another day. I mean, in terms of the decent attacks we had in the game, they were all within like a 90-second space. Kulusevski, Gabriel kind of cleared one right in front of Solanke from a really good Jed Spence cross. Kulusevski should have scored from the corner straight afterwards, and then the goal we just do score is from a corner another minute later. Other than that, we never looked like scoring. So, yeah, I'm not looking at it going, what am I going to do this week? I'm going to play Castagna at Leicester rather than Gabriel against Villa. No, it's the same thing. Gabriel's going to play. I mean, that easily could have been his goal, couldn't it? On Wednesday night.
Assist or goal, either or.
It's Dragic heads the ball onto Solanke. There's one particular angle where you can see that very, very clearly. So no, in terms of investing in Arsenal for new, no. But I do look at the next few and think Villa at home, Wolves away, City at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home. Ideally want to keep, yes, Raya could be a sacrifice for me. I could drop Raya to Alisson or I could drop Raya to Pickford. But I'm not interested in dropping Raya to anything else at all. Obviously, should Arsenal blank in 29, there's a different conversation to be had where I might go, that would maybe push me into thinking, yeah, okay, do you know what, we're going to attack something else. Do you know I might end up attacking, Suj? Mark Flecken, just saying, putting it out there. No, I would not buy Mark Flecken. For Spurs,
that would be classic. I sell him, you buy him, and he goes on a tear off of clean sheets. Yeah.
Oh, and because it's them as well. Congratulations to our gooners listening and watching. It was obviously deserved. For Spurs, no, from a fantasy perspective, the only one I think you could possibly consider is Solanke. The run of fixtures is good. Everton, Leicester, Brentford, Manchester United at home, Ipswich, City and Bournemouth at home, by which point those two centre-backs are surely going to be back fit. Goalkeeper might even be as well. And then Fulham, we assume at the moment in the blank. Obviously, it could be a blank if Tottenham get through in the Carabao Cup final. That run from 26 for Solanke is pretty good. And what I'm looking at potentially is going Jackson to Gakpo, Gakpo to Cunha, and possibly Solanke back to Jackson. That's the sort of chain move I'm possibly looking at. So looking now and going, yeah, take Solanke up to Ipswich away 26 and then maybe back into Jackson for 27, 28, which is the home games with Leicester, Southampton. That's the sort of chain move I'm possibly considering at the moment. Yeah, I'm happy for him to stay. He obviously had a touch benching him this week as well. He didn't play well, I'll add, but he was isolated so much. Gabriel and Saliba.
It's going to be a tough game. It's a tough game to the best defenders.
In terms of their individual joy, they're obviously really good as a unit, Arsenal defensively, but in terms of their individual physicality, yeah, they're so strong. The week before, he pulled Van Dijk in some really uncomfortable positions in the Carabao Cup tie. He couldn't move Gabriel or Saliba into positions that were uncomfortable. And when he dropped short, his link play wasn't great. Kulusevski didn't play well. In truth, the three players that came out of it with the most credit was the two 18-year-old boys. Bergvall did pretty well. But Archie Gray was our best player by a distance. I wouldn't be surprised if Archie Gray is our captain within about 18 months. I genuinely think that's a possibility because when Son goes as a new captain needed, and I don't think there's anything else in the squad that's worth giving it to. So I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes Tottenham's captain before he even turns 21. Hopefully when he's playing in midfield, by the way. And Jed Spence did pretty well at left back, I thought. And actually, he's been a little bit of a bonus for us recently because we've obviously had problems, and he's covering for Destiny Udogie pretty well there at the moment, and he's nowhere near our biggest problem at this moment, actually.
But you lost, so it
The,
is what
the,
it
the,
is.
the biggest thing of all is the physicality difference between the two teams. I know Arsenal are obviously a far better football team, etc. But it's so obvious, and it has been in the last games in the North London derby, that their physicality levels, I mean, kind of like strength,
Yeah.
they're so much more powerful than players like Johnson and Son. So weak, man. Ange desperately needs a 1v1 attacking dribbler who can take a man on. Like,
He needs a weights
desperate
coach, mate.
for
He
it.
needs someone to get the boys in the gym lifting some
There's no,
dumbbells.
you're never going to get out of Johnson, and Heung-min Son's 32. So he's way too late for that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, look, hopefully, I know the league table looks horrendous at the moment, as spoken on our Patreon stuff. The cup games are way more important at the moment. There is, in truth, there's a run of good fixtures coming up now. And actually, we expect Romero van der Ven probably back, maybe even before the end of the month. I actually think we'll go on a bit of a run now, possibly.
Let's see. Ipswich 0, Brighton 2. Good win for Brighton. It keeps them doing well in the table. I think, are they ninth? Yeah, still up to ninth, doing well. But
Considering it was their first win in about 9.
yeah, I think Ipswich, on the other hand, I mean, they'd had the good result against Chelsea. They'd had the draw against Fulham. You're thinking, are we going to build up some momentum? But they've lost here. Now they've got City and Liverpool, so you're not expecting anything out of those two games either before they get to Southampton. I'm not really looking at anything Ipswich, even like Delap or whatever. You would have done it a couple, well, I don't know where you would go in for it, even with the Southampton game, but there's nothing from Ipswich that's particularly interesting. And I can't wait to get rid of Pedro, if I'm honest with you. As good as he is or not or what, and as good an asset as he is, I'm just, no.
I don't know. United, Everton, Forest, Chelsea, Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham,
United,
both at
Everton,
home, the last
sure.
two.
But Forest, Chelsea, he's not going to have as much. Southampton, good. Bournemouth, Fulham, not so good. City, yeah. I'd rather, when I say I'm going to move him, I'm moving him to Gakpo. And the only time I need to do that is 24. So I'm going to ride it out this week, though. Like I said, he's bust on the bench.
Yeah, if you're doing something like that, if you're moving João Pedro up to Gakpo or Mateta, or even if you want to kind of punt Solanke for a little bit, that sort of move, yeah, I don't mind. But I wouldn't be threatening to move João Pedro to like
Raul
Jimenez or
something.
Strand
Yeah, I get
Larsen
that.
or
Yeah, I
or
get
something like that at the moment. That would be my or Delap even. I'd be
Yep.
sticking under
Yep.
that circumstance. It's only if you have the affordability to move money, and of course it's not going to be for me and you, I don't think, Suj, but some people might have that money in the bank and can't because they want to activate the chip on a slot. You got to think about that 1.5 million, right? So he'll continue to maintain investment, and I think actually he'll be fine for you to keep over this period if you end up doing so, Suj, I should
Yep.
imagine. There's nothing else Brighton on radar. Other than just give a little caveat note, obviously, Lewis Dunk didn't start last night, came on for Adam Webster. I'm sure he'll now go back in. He's 4.3. And should they ever land with a double game week, you know that people will talk about it. Estupinan is not worth paying the money for at this moment. Yeah, it would just be kind of João Pedro a bust at the moment. I mean, Mitoma scored, but that's his first goal since what the start of this great run was meant to be against Southampton. And actually, ultimately, Christian Morton should save it, in my opinion. I know he probably struggles to see it, but it goes right under his body. He should do better with it. For Ipswich, no, not looking at anything either. I think there's kind of a desperation a little bit in the sense they've won, one home game?
That was, to be fair, that was against Chelsea.
Yes and no.
And if they play like they did against Chelsea, against City, they will make it difficult for City, but it's a different challenge.
I intended to watch more of this than I did. The way Southampton played made me kind of watch a lot more of Manchester United against Southampton. I watched the first half of this and I was struggling. I was like, I need a coffee. I was struggling. It wasn't great. It was, and I understand it. Brighton are a team who kind of want to dominate on the ball, etc. They weren't hurting Ipswich. Ipswich didn't look like they were going to really hurt Brighton on the ball. I don't think Delap touched the ball in the first 20 minutes or so. He had a decent effort not long afterwards. But he did. I'm watching the game. I was thinking this is either going to be 0-0, 1-1, or Brighton are going to nick it. I didn't feel anything that I'd seen in that half hour to make me think, yeah, Ipswich can beat these. I didn't see that. Then in between the half-time United Southampton game, he obviously put the game back on, which was pretty much straight after Mitoma scored. So Brighton have just got the lead. And you know, psychologically from there, it's like, okay, take 10 yards off because we've just gone in front. I don't think I see Ipswich put two passes together in those 15 minutes in between. Like, they were just completely dominant, Brighton. Just looked like we're going to score again. So with City, Liverpool coming up,
It's an
you
avoid.
kind of be hoping to take advantage a little bit of Wolves have got a few defensive issues, off the field stuff with Lamina not wanting to play. Everton obviously can't score, but I don't, and obviously Leicester aren't doing anything at the moment. I don't know if Ipswich can do enough here though. When you actually look at Ipswich's fixtures up to sort of like game week 30, as a cluster, they're pretty rough. The majority of the teams they play, even individual, Palace away, it's away, Bournemouth away. And I know some of their better results have been away, but these are the sort of fixtures you're looking at and going, yeah, other than the Southampton game, obviously stands out. Do you see them winning any of them?
No.
Oh yeah, other than Dr. Tottenham in 26, obviously. We don't. I don't see them putting like 4 or 5 wins on the board there. And really, they have got to get in front of Wolves over the next five. Because once Wolves have got the next five out of the way, then the fixtures get really good for Wolves again.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
actually, Everton's fixtures over the same period before they go to Anfield in game week 30, they will pick up some points. Those fixtures are miles better than what Ipswich have got. This is a danger that they're going to cut adrift. And they feel the strongest of the three. Because they've got the lap, etc. They feel like the strongest of the three.
Yeah, I mean, look, the relegation zone now is Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich, bottom to top. Ipswich tied on points with Wolves. Everton are 1 point ahead, admittedly game in hand, but that's Liverpool. But Wolves, Everton above them do feel like they've got the know-how and the nous to get out of it.
I think
and
with
the fixtures.
Wolves, they've just got to be a bit careful that like this stuff with like Lamina and stuff, it's like the honeymoon period's kind of finished. And they were really good in the first few games, beat United, they played really well at Tottenham, for example. Just got to be a bit careful that they haven't lost some of the good things I saw from them there and lose confidence, getting beat 3-0 on Wednesday when actually they didn't play too badly, just really sloppy defensively. But what I've seen of them so far, if they can maintain that level, they'll be fine. And in
Yep,
Cunha, they've got a superstar footballer who can win them any game, right? Whereas Everton don't have that at the moment. But I
it's true.
think Ipswich have got to try and rein Wolves in a bit over the next five. And over that period, we've got City at home, Liverpool away, Villa away. How
Yep.
much are you going to rein them in? They've got to get above them, I think, over the next five. They've got to win that Southampton game. It's an absolute must.
That's the biggest game of their run coming up for
I
sure. But you
suppose
could
over the
argue the
next
case that
three,
it's also the biggest game for Southampton coming up because they go to Newcastle, Nottingham Forest and Newcastle next, which are also just as tough as City, Liverpool in many ways, and they are far worse off on points.
I suppose over the next three, if you just said to Ipswich fans now, right, you will beat Southampton, they'd probably take that.
I think so. Let's talk about Manchester United 3, Southampton 1. I'll ask you the question, James, because people will ask you all the time. Are Southampton going to beat Derby's total, mate, of 11 points? Because at one point here, we're thinking, oh, they're one up. Could they get those 3 points, get on the board? They've thrown it away at the end here.
So I didn't intend to watch much of this. I thought in my mind, I thought I'll see how the two teams set up. I'll kind of flick over and then I'll go back to Ipswich Brighton second half and then I'll watch the end. That would have been my plan. But once I started watching Southampton, that game was not getting turned off. Because the only thing I was thinking in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes even was, I was thinking the headline I'm going to go with on this podcast will be Southampton will win the game of football really soon. Really soon. I was really impressed with them. And actually, I was thinking by the sort of 10, 15 minutes in the second half, I was like, they are winning this. Because it looked just as likely it was going to go 2-0 as 1-1. I was really impressed with how they set up. Their press was really organised and structured as a team. They had trigger points pretty much from Sulemana to Fernandez to Dibbling. They worked in order left to right and they were doing it together. And the midfield and the wing backs followed strong with that. Within possession, they had the two wide centre backs moving into fullback. And they had a Gochakuwu dropping in between, dropping into right-sided centre-back, and then Dibbling coming off the right-hand side to go into central areas to kind of link with Aribo so they didn't just get overloaded in there. The wing-backs then pushed really high, And a lot of the theme on the commentary of the game was like, Matswari and Dallo got to get further forward. Yeah, but they were looking at going, why are like Sugarwara and Walker Peters so high
Yeah.
all the time? And then you're going, and Diblin and Suleimano just inside this, and it just pinned Manchester United back into a back five for, to be honest, the majority of the football match. I was really impressed with them tactically. And when they actually had it, they played some really nice stuff. They were you couldn't have looked at them if you didn't know you're watching the game again. There's no way this team's only got 6 points. You'd be looking at them going, fucking hell, I wish they was on 16. I'd be watching this thinking they could actually even get out of this. Ultimately, defensive stuff becomes a problem later in the game, and they lost a bit of fitness and legs and stuff. Must shout out Kamaldeen Suleimana. Where have you been for 2 years, mate? Because
Okay.
on what I watched yesterday, I'd have gone buy him because that's better than any of the wing options I've got. He was so direct and took them on United's defensive right hand side every time. Yoro just could not deal with him, and I think Yoro played potentially to deal with him rather than have the lip facing him. He has done nothing since Southampton spent quite a bit of money on him 24 months ago. Where has that player been? Keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Really good. I think erratic in terms of like the end product and the finishing. I think he can be a bit head down in the last moments. But yeah, where's that player been? Diblin, we know technically he's brilliant. So you've
Yeah.
got
I
two
think he's still the
players.
standout 4.5
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
option. Yeah.
You're not going to dive into it if you do want a midfielder at that price. Yeah, he's still the one, irrespective of the fixtures. And he's going to play regularly. Those two are obviously good ball carriers, different kind of aspects about Diblin is really good in terms of the close control aspect of his game. And I really liked Fernandes, kind of played as the nine, but obviously did it kind of as false. Pressing really good, link really good, good close control. And they've got so many forwards, but none of them are going to, Armstrong, Archer, Onuachu, there's probably some others I've forgotten about. None of them are going to score enough goals. That, as a free, looked like something that collectively, together, they might make work.
The problem is defensively, of course, they've conceded so many goals, but they've only scored 13 goals all season, James. This goal scoring is a massive 13 goals in 21 games.
Yeah,
Like,
but what you've got
it's
now is
bad.
you have to remember the last game they played prior to this one in the league was the 5-0 against Brentford, right? So you're like, oh my God, this is so there's no manager bounce, there's no nothing. They've obviously beat Southampton, Swansea 3-0 in the cup, which is a decent result. Can't tell you that I've watched any of it, not even seen the goals, obviously rotated a little bit and stuff. But that was a massive shift from the Brentford game to this. Or is it the age old, oh, well, that was just Manchester United again and we shouldn't read too much into it? Because you cannot believe what you saw from United for any, and probably most people listening or watching this probably watched Manchester United against Liverpool and Arsenal and went, hey, getting this sorted. And then watched that last night. You put it to bed what happened at the end in terms of the hero with Diallo and stuff like that. United were wank for 70 odd minutes, not in it at all, really. Yeah, they had the odd moment of stuff. So you bloody should at home with Southampton. They got outfought and outfought. It only really improved for them. You mentioned about Højlund. When Xerxes came on,
Yeah.
actually made a big difference because he came and started linking the play. He was able to ball carry better. Højlund, I've watched him a bit recently. I've actually thought, do you know what? There's a player in there. I really do think there's a player in there, Rasmus Højlund. I don't think it's a Manchester United. They don't play to strengths at all. Xerxes, who I think has looked a bit clumsy and cumbersome so far, I thought he did really well when he came on, and kind of he was the one that really changed the game from that
I said he was
perspective.
all right against Arsenal as well. The general reviews were
Yeah,
he
he
played
was
well in that
actually
game.
when he came on against Arsenal, particularly under the circumstance of being down to 10 men as well. Ugarte, I said this about him 3, 4 weeks ago. So I'm not sure about him. And then the Liverpool game, I thought it was good. I thought it was quite good at Arsenal as well. If it was, so he's shown himself now against two very established opponents. He looked like he was running uphill in that first half again last night. I don't know if that's a mentality thing. And Amorim has looked at him and Hoyland in the first 10 minutes of the second half and gone, nah, enough of this. Because it was at that point, it was just as likely that Southampton were going to go 2-0 up. So I think they've got a mentality issue because that can't be on. What we've seen of them before, and then to watch them Liverpool Arsenal games, and then for them just not to be able to get a foothold in that game at all is questionable. That said, is it also possibly that the system enables them to do better against better opponents? because you play against a side like this where the expectations up and you just end in a back five so much. We had a good question a few weeks ago, and I said I think there's a limitation on what this formation can be, like this 3-4-2-1. Like I don't at the moment foresee it winning a Premier League in that system. It's not to say that cycles won't change, etc. So I don't see it. And someone said, well, why? Most teams move to a back three in possession. The major difference is they don't end up in a back five out of possession. United do. They end up
Yeah,
way
most
too
teams
deep, so
revert
they
to a four.
cede
I get
way
that.
too much control in games. So yeah, there's possibly something in that at the moment that what it needs is it obviously needs powerful wing backs,
Hmm.
which they don't have. They did have a powerful wing back last night, but that's not where he should be playing. Because certainly watching that first half, I could not have foreseen any circumstances where Amad Diallo would be walking off the pitch with a match ball.
More points than
Incredible run at
Bruno
the end of the
Fernandes
game, as
now.
simple as that.
More points than Bruno Fernandes now for the season. I don't think there's any
Is that
doubt. Like
right?
if I'm buying, he's on 100 points now. Bruno on 92. I wonder what minutes that's. So Bruno's played 1,600 minutes. Ahmad's clearly played a lot less. Yeah, 1,300 minutes. I think for the majority of people, you're buying Ahmad now, aren't you?
Are you? If I hadn't done it
Over
this
Bruno.
week, over
Over
Bruno,
Bruno.
yeah, sure. But
Sorry,
as in
sorry.
just
I should say.
steaming into him because
Oh no,
I,
no, no,
I,
no.
I
I'm talking
hate
about
this.
as a United asset. I think I'd go Ahmad over Bruno and save the money.
I hate this. I've just seen him play the best team in the worst team in the league and he's gone off. Now I'm going to go and buy him. Okay, so why was we not pushing it through beforehand? I get it. It's that, and the fixtures are still good for United, right? Pretty much up to they play Arsenal 28 and they've got a good fixture in game with 29. If it wasn't clear that he's first choice, clearly now Amad Diallo is part of Manchester United's best 11. And I'm pretty sure, obviously, remember Dallo was suspended yesterday. They'll get him back into the right hand side 10 position because scoring goals has been a big problem for United.
Since game week 11, he's started every game bar one, which was the Arsenal game, and he's played 90 in all of them bar one, which was the Wolves game where they
But
lost.
scoring goals has been a problem all season, right? The system, think about United and the system, right? So those wing backs, if it's Dallo and Matsurawi, how much are they truly going to contribute in terms of actual goals?
Yeah,
Very little, right? Fernandes is obviously going to contribute. Even if Xerxes is better for the style than Hoyland, are either of them going to score enough goals? Are Ugarte and Casemiro going to get 6, 7 goals between them between now and the end of the season? Did I say Ugarte and Casemiro? I meant Minu.
yeah.
No, probably not, right? So you need someone to help Bruno Fernandes. So unless they invest in the transfer market, which we don't think they can do unless they sell someone, you've got to get Diallo closer to goal because he's shown the capability of what he can do at the top end. The finishes are great. The first one is obviously a little bit fortuitous in terms of the rebound off of, I think it was off of Walker Peters. The second one, it stretches at it, but it's the fact that he makes the run and gets on the return, a lovely little ball over the top from Christian Eriksen to score is great. And then he's still got the ability to go and press, which is important. It's obviously a clear big error from Taylor Harwood-Bellis, who I presume was just trying to impress his father-in-law. And Diallo can't miss. You know what the XG was on that Diallo third goal?
I'm not sure, but the overall Man United XG was 3.4 by the end of the game, so I'm assuming it was ridiculously high.
Well, the model I saw was only 0.68.
Okay,
Please don't tell me that he's missing that 3 times out of 10. I can't be having that.
nah.
It's just absolutely not. So fair play to the boy. And obviously it was one of them. And I had a few of these. You remember last season where he had the Foden hat trick last game of the game week at Brentford. Jared Bowen against Brentford last game of the game week. And this the same. And do you know what? It's worth saying this to acknowledge I've had a really good game week. But you said a few weeks ago, and I didn't take it personally, I think it was right, when analysing my season, it's like certain chain moves you made led to next moves, which
Yeah,
did you a favour.
yeah.
For
It's not a favor, but it's like you wouldn't have
it
made
fell into
move
place.
B without move A. The whole game is like that, though.
Yeah.
Everything is a maneuvering of multiple
For
moves.
example, I really wanted to buy Gordon for Jota last week, but had to do it early on the Sunday night if I was going to do it before Newcastle went to Tottenham, which is obviously a couple of weeks ago now. And I let it go. And I pretty much said all the time since I regret not just taking the gamble and getting it done. But because I then needed to find money to get Gordon in now,
Semenyo to
What I'm saying is, had I got Gordon a couple of weeks ago, and not that Semenyo did badly this week, but it's every case to say I might have gone, I'll play Solanke over Semenyo. Like that probably would have been pretty close.
but you had to find the money.
But I had to find the
Yeah.
money, and then it was so
It's
obvious.
good.
It
I mean,
has
this is how it
fallen into
works.
place. Yeah.
This is where it's that luck versus skill. It's a bit of both. It's a balance. Sometimes you use your skill to make decisions, and luck has to go in your favour. Good, good, good. Cool. Shall we cover off a couple of the questions that we've had in on Tinternet, James, and then we can wrap this episode.
Yeah,
We said
do it,
we were
mate.
going to do an hour and 15, hour and a half later, still chatting.
That's all right.
Toro de Corsa. Is the captain too powerful in this game? I had a good differential this week, Gahey, and it's all for nothing because I picked the wrong captain. It's just the captain's lottery. I would say this season more than any other, there's just been haul after haul after haul of getting the right captain. Does it feel like that for you as well, where 10, 12, 15 pointers from whether it's Salah consistently, Palmer when it's not Salah, now Isak. You had the great week of Saka and Mbomo earlier in the season.
Watkins.
It feels like, yeah, Watkins.
And now Isak this one.
There's been haul after haul of captains rather than your 6 to 8 pointers. It's been like 15 pointers.
Yeah, but if you didn't have Mark
It's not
Gay,
always like that.
but if you didn't have Mark Gay as a differential this week, they'd have had a big red arrow, wouldn't they? So look at it that way, right? You could say Mark Gay's helped save your game, but I'm guessing Mark Gay was a 14 or a 15 pointer, right?
Yeah, I think 15 pointer you picked up.
So if you didn't have it, you've had a terrible game week, right? So I wouldn't complain at certainly having that. Yes, of course, captaincy is going to have a really big impact on ultimately. If you know your captain, you can have a really good game week, right? Without doing much else. I mean, that week when I had Watkins got the 26 for me, which feels low considering some of the other ones this season, against Everton after Haaland had done well earlier in the day. And all that did was kind of equal just obviously the Haaland total. But like if Watkins had blanked that week, like I was on an absolute disaster.
Correct.
And that covered it up to make it a solid, decent week, right? If I'd had other players perform, then it obviously would have been a really, really good week. So, yeah, I mean, look, we can spin our narratives. I certainly wouldn't complain about having Mark Gay's points in there.
FPL Manor, James, he's popped up with a title for the podcast. You ready for it? A mad 12 minutes. Not bad. Not bad. A mad 12 minutes. But although I feel like it was more like 15 minutes.
I was thinking of keeping things on Diallo. Keeping it on a Diallo.
Down low. Yeah, I don't mind that as well.
The thing is, I used a mad one in the last
Monday.
game.
Yeah. I know. He did mention, he goes, I know you used it on Monday already. All good. Dave Hannigan says, Pedro to Wood for 1 week and then on to Gakpo. We've talked about this. I think keep Pedro for Man United, doesn't it? He's going to have chances for sure.
No.
A few questions around.
If you want to buy Wood, I get it. I'm just buying him just for one. I think that'll be low scoring on Sunday, by the way. Forest Southampton. I'd see Forest winning that like 1-0, for example.
I mean, when do Forest ever really go off big? They don't, and Southampton have only scored 13 goals. A few questions in and around Jota. Well, we know that he's a doubt for the weekend, so that answers a lot of people's questions around Jota. And the last player that's popped up a number of times in the questions, James, is Ollie Watkins. Hold? I mean, we didn't talk about him. I said on Monday
pissed off the camera. I did talk about him.
Yes. Okay. Fair play. My apologies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably a hold. As I said, I don't think he'll start the Arsenal and Monaco games, but I think as it stands, I think he probably plays at Arsenal one on Saturday. Then the three fixtures afterwards are good. So look, massive differential. What you think with someone like that? I say this quite a bit. No one else is buying him. So you again, you look at them fixtures 23 to 25. Again, if I get there and I want to forward, am I buying Watkins? Oh no, it's the temptation of Gakpo and stuff, right? So that's a differential for you for a few weeks that now, having returned on Wednesday night, I'd probably want to keep for a few more weeks.
Yeah, I would agree. Good. Anything on the blue sky? Yeah, let's see what the blue skies are saying.
Yeah, I just want to take this one. We did kind of mention this on Monday, but I'll probably reiterate a couple of points on this. So Louis Max says, can you activate the assistant manager chip in game week 37 in case game week 36 becomes better for other chips and you've missed earlier opportunities? The answer is yes. Please don't do that. It's exactly what I said on Monday. Please don't do that. And you need to factor that in. You know, those little things like 31 to 33. Let's say you've got a team. I was thinking about this more. So the FA Cup quarterfinal, as we said, is the weekend after the international break. Then the game week 30 deadline is highly likely to be the Tuesday. I wouldn't, by the way, rule out the possibility of it being on the Monday. Because it could be that they go, well, we got two teams here who aren't playing in the FA Cup and they blank that weekend. Can we stick it on the Monday night? That might even be a possibility. Now, under that sort of circumstance, what information have you got in terms of the fixtures of where they've gone when deadline hits on a Monday night? You might not have it, right? Can we even guarantee that game week 31, which will definitely be a Saturday deadline afterwards, can we guarantee that we'll know exactly where the fixtures go when we hit that game week 31 deadline on the weekend?
Well, there's no
I'd say
guarantee
we
with the Premier
probably
League,
do.
but there's no guarantee with the Premier League. They like to announce their fixtures just after we finish recording.
There's a couple of consequences of this that I think are really important for people to factor in. A lot of people are going to wildcard in 30 or 31. That would be a really good reason to wait off an extra week, game week 31, that you might not know with assuredness. If we've got similar games being postponed for the Carabao Cup quarterfinals and the FA Cup semi-finals, it will probably be quite obvious. But let's say, for example, that we have, Newcastle, Palace, Villa, Liverpool postponed for the Carabao Cup final, and none of those teams made the FA Cup quarterfinal. Right, it's going to be difficult to work out under that circumstance. So you'd be wildcarding in game week 30 and guessing. That's a problem. The other problem is if it's not confirmed by 31, and it really, really should be, by the way, but if it's not, you may want to activate the assistant manager chip there, 31 to 33, thinking that a team's got a double. Now, there would be certain ones where, again, there might be teams that you go, well, they've got to play 33 and 36, so I know that they'll at least play one of two teams. But that is a small possibility that you might want to use it in 31 to 33 and not know how many fixtures you've got out your assistant manager. Now, of course, you can obviously make a free transfer and then go for someone else who has got a double, for example. But it's just a couple of things to factor in with that. And that needs to, in terms of, I think, particular relationships around bench boost and assistant manager, you need to think about that at the end. There should really, though, to answer Louis Matt's question, there should be no reason why you're ending up in a position going beyond game week 33 and having the assistant manager chip and the bench boost chip, for example. I don't think.
Makes sense. Good.
If you're sitting there with everything, surely you're thinking of using something on Slot or Salah in 24. If you've got every chip now.
I'm thinking of using it on Slot, but also I'm not sure if I'll have the money to get Slot then. So, yeah, that's my more than whether or not I want to use it over that period. It's the money, James. I've got to downgrade someone to free up $1.5 million to get him in. Cool. Okie doke. That's all the questions. As we said, we try and keep it snappy. And did we? Bollocks, do we ever? So I'll just give it a quick shout. If you want to support the show, it's patreon.com/Planet FPL. You'll have heard the spiel many times if you've been listening to us for a little while. Loads of benefits of being a patron, part of the community on Slack, fixture planning spreadsheet, additional podcasts, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But with the quick turnaround, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Back at you next week. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Remember to play it your way and be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.